On Christmas morning, my parents handed my brother and his fiancée a velvet jewelry box containing our great-grandmother's $40,000 diamond ring and a sealed card stuffed with $15,000 in cash for their upcoming ASCAS to wedding. Then my mother slid a brown paper grocery bag across the coffee table toward me and said it was Nana Ruth's old Bible because you've always been the spiritual one, Claire. My brother laughed. My father nodded like a man satisfied with himself. I said thank you, because that is what I always said. But the real twist wasn't what I found hidden inside that Bible. The real twist was learning my family had known about it for 2 years and chosen silence over honesty. Before I tell you how I walked out of my childhood home for the last time and left my family with exactly what they deserved, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. If you've ever been the overlooked one who turned out to hold all the cards, hit like and subscribe, because this one is for you. My name is Claire. I'm 29 years old and I work 12-hour overnight shifts in the emergency room of a hospital in Atlanta. I am not glamorous. I drive a 7-year-old Honda Civic with a cracked dashboard and a check engine light that has been glowing amber since September. I own 4 pairs of scrubs and 1 good blazer I keep for occasions that never quite arrive. My apartment is small and clean and mine, and for a long time that felt like enough. My brother Brandon is 34. He owns a marketing firm, drives a black Porsche, and has the kind of confident handshake that makes older men trust him before he's finished the first sentence. His fiancée Vanessa is 32 and sells luxury real estate in Buckhead. She has 200,000 followers on Instagram and refers to their relationship, without irony, as a brand. She started dating my brother 8 months after our grandmother died, and within 6 months she had quietly rearranged our family's priorities in ways that were difficult to name but impossible to miss. My parents, Gerald and Patricia, have always had a favorite. I understood this clearly by age 12. My brother got a car on his 16th birthday. I got a bus pass and a reminder to save my babysitting money. His college was paid in full. I got a partial scholarship, worked 20 hours a week at a coffee shop, and still graduated with $30,000 in loans. I never brought this up, because my mother had a particular way of receiving grievances. She could take any legitimate complaint and reframe it as a personality defect, your negativity, your jealousy, your failure to appreciate what you have. So I learned to keep my accounting internal. I tallied things in silence. I thought that was maturity. I was wrong. It was just a different kind of disappearing. My grandmother, Nana Ruth, was my father's mother. She died 2 years ago in November, at 81, in a hospice room that smelled of antiseptic and dried flowers. I was with her at the end. My brother was at a conference in Miami that he declined to shorten. My parents arrived for the final 2 hours. Nana Ruth held my hand through the entire night before, her grip surprisingly firm for a woman that small. She told me I was the one who had truly understood her. She told me she had taken care of things and that I would be all right. I thought she meant emotionally. I held on to that and went home and cried alone in my car in the hospital parking garage. I was wrong about what she meant. I would understand that on Christmas morning, in a gas station parking lot, with shaking hands. The family gathering was at my parents' house, a 2-story colonial in the suburbs with a pristine driveway and the kind of seasonal wreath on the front door that signals to the neighborhood that everything inside is fine. I arrived at 11 carrying a green bean casserole I had made after a double shift the night before. My hand still carried a faint trace of hospital-grade sanitizer. Vanessa opened the door wearing cream cashmere, her hair arranged in the way that looks effortless and isn't, and she received my casserole with both hands and an expression of polite tolerance before setting it on a side table away from the food. "We have a caterer," she said. My brother gave me a one-armed hug. "You look exhausted," he said. From the living room, without turning. "Claire, boots off in the hallway. I just had the rugs cleaned." I took my boots off in the hallway. The gift exchange came after brunch. My parents sat together on the white sectional with the composure of people who have rehearsed this. My brother and Vanessa were arranged on the love seat, her hand on his knee, his thumb moving on his phone screen at intervals he believed were subtle. I sat in the armchair near the back wall, slightly outside the circle, the way I had always sat. My father reached under the tree and lifted out a dark blue velvet box, the kind with a hinge and a small gold clasp and a thick sealed envelope. He carried both to the coffee table and set them in front of my brother with the gravity of a man making a historic gesture. "Your mother and I have been thinking about this for some time," he said. "With the spring wedding coming, we wanted to do something that meant something." He opened the box. On a cushion of ivory, silk was a diamond ring that had belonged to our great-grandmother. A cocktail ring, large and clear, with the kind of presence that makes a room go quiet. My mother had kept it locked in her jewelry armoire since Nana Ruth's death. "Current appraisal is $40,000, my father said. "We want Vanessa to have it as a symbol of her place in this family." Vanessa pressed both hands over her mouth. She made a sound that I can only describe as prepared. She stood and embraced my father, then my mother, and then held the ring up and photographed it before she had fully sat back down. My father reached under the tree once more and withdrew a brown paper grocery bag, folded over at the top. He slid it across the coffee table in my direction. It made a quiet, papery sound against the wood. "Nana Ruth's Bible," my mother said, answering the question before I could ask it. "You used to read to her on Sundays, so we thought you'd want it. It's her personal copy. Very sentimental." A pause. "We put the entire gift budget toward the ring and the wedding fund. We didn't want you to go home empty-handed, though." My brother's mouth pulled at one corner. Vanessa was photographing the ring from a second angle. I reached into the bag and picked up the Bible. Worn black leather, spine cracked, the gold foil lettering of Nana Ruth's name mostly gone. I had read from this book at her bedside for 3 years. I knew every creased page, every margin note. "Thank you," I said. I held it together until I reached my car. Then I sat in the driveway with the engine running and the grocery bag on the passenger seat and told myself it didn't matter. I had expected very little. I should be fine with nothing. I drove. At the first red light, I picked up the Bible from the seat beside me and held it in my lap. Habit. At the second light, I opened the back cover, the way you open something familiar. The interior lining, dark burgundy fabric, glued flat, was lifting at one corner. I pressed my thumb against the edge. Something beneath it crinkled. I pulled over in the parking lot of a closed CVS. Beneath the lining, held down by 2 strips of yellowed masking tape, was a sealed envelope. On the front, in Nana Ruth's handwriting, the small, deliberate slant she used when she wanted you to read carefully was a single word. My name. I sat in that parking lot on Christmas morning and read a letter my grandmother had hidden from me 2 years before. My hands shook before the end of the first paragraph. The letter said that she had loved me my whole life and that she was sorry for the ways her son and his family had made me feel like an afterthought. It said she had revised her estate in the final year of her life and left me the entire contents of a savings account at Regions Bank, $847,000, along with a parcel of coastal land on Tybee Island, Georgia, that she had inherited from her own mother and held quietly for decades to keep the peace. The revised will had been recorded with Chatham County Probate Court. I was the sole named beneficiary. And then, in her careful slanted hand, "Your father knows about this account." I told him myself, "Please make sure you get what belongs to you, Claire." I read it 4 times. Then I sat completely still for a while. My father knew. He had known for 2 years. He had stood in his living room 40 minutes ago and watched me receive a paper grocery bag while Vanessa wore a family heirloom, and he had said nothing. Not one word. I drove home. I did not go back inside. I sat at my kitchen table for a long time in the silence, and then I found the number for an estate attorney who handled contested inheritance cases. Her name was Diane Cho. I left a voicemail on her office line, and then I sat very still until it got dark outside. Diane called me back the morning of December 26th. I walked her through the letter, the probate records I had found through Chatham County's public portal, and the account information Nana Ruth had included on a separate slip of paper tucked behind the letter. Diane was quiet for a long stretch. Then she said, "The legal documents are clear. Your name is on the will. The probate was filed correctly. The issue worth investigating is whether anyone with access to the estate account has made withdrawals over the past 2 years." I had not gotten that far yet. I asked her to find out. She called back 3 days later. 43 withdrawals, 22 months. A total of $214,000. My father had been appointed executor. The estate account, which should have held the full $847,000 until distributed to me, now held $633,000. The remaining money had been transferred incrementally to a joint account in my parents' names and spent on a kitchen renovation, a leased Mercedes, a vacation to Portugal, and a new roof. My inheritance had paid for their kitchen, their car, their trip. Diane filed for a formal estate accounting and an emergency freeze on any further disbursements within the week. My father called on January 2nd. He did not call to explain. He called to manage the situation, which is a different thing. "Claire, I got a letter from some attorney. What is this?" His voice had the specific hardness of a man who has decided he is the wronged party. "It's about the account," I said. "The $214,000. Those were estate expenses, taxes, maintenance on the island property. That's standard practice for an executor. A kitchen renovation isn't standard practice." He told me I didn't understand how these things worked. He told me he had been protecting me from stress. He told me he didn't like my tone. Then he hung up. My mother called 20 minutes later. Her voice was soft and grieved, the tone she used to reverse the polarity of every argument I had ever been right about. She told me my father was devastated. She told me money had never made me happy, that I had always been the simple one, the practical one, and that I didn't need all of that. She told me the Tybee land had complications, an easement dispute, environmental assessments, and that Brandon had looked into it when Nana Ruth died and determined it would cost more to handle than it was worth. Brandon had looked into it. When Nana Ruth died, my brother had sent an attorney to evaluate my inheritance while I was working night shifts and attending graduate school applications and eating dinner alone in my small apartment. I pulled the Chatham County property tax records for the Tybee parcel online that same afternoon. Most recent assessment, $2.1 million. A developer had been acquiring adjacent lots for 3 years to build a resort-style complex. Nana Ruth's land sat in the center of their footprint. A letter in the probate file, which I had not noticed on my first search, showed the developer had submitted a purchase offer 14 months ago. My father, acting as executor, had declined to forward it to the beneficiary me, and instead sent a written response stating the property was not available for sale. He had turned down an offer on my land, without telling me it existed. I sent everything to Diane and asked her to accelerate. The next damage came from Vanessa's Instagram. On January 5th, she posted a reel from my parents' living room, the diamond ring visible on her hand, her voice soft and practiced. She said that someone close to their family was pursuing legal action against Brandon's parents over an inheritance. She said it was heartbreaking. She asked for prayers. She did not say my name, but she didn't need to. 2 of my nursing colleagues recognized my parents' living room from a photo I had posted years earlier, and within 12 hours people had found my employer's Facebook page and left 1-star reviews claiming I was under investigation for financial crimes. Someone I had never met called my nursing supervisor to report me. My supervisor placed me on unpaid administrative leave while the situation resolved. I drove home on a Tuesday in January and sat in my car in the parking garage for 20 minutes before I could go inside. I had $4,000 in my checking account. Rent was due in 8 days. The estate money was frozen. The money that was legally mine was inaccessible while the people who had taken it continued their lives without interruption. I ate crackers and peanut butter for dinner, not dramatically, because I was choosing to be poor, but because it was what I had. Sitting at my table in the quiet of that January evening, I almost called my brother. I picked up my phone twice. Then I remembered my mother's voice on the phone. "You've always been the simple one. You don't need all that." And I set the phone down and opened my laptop instead. I spent 3 evenings pulling public records. Vanessa's real estate transactions, her LLC registrations, the business filings for my brother's marketing firm. Most of it was clean. But I found 3 property sales in Buckhead, all sold to the same LLC at slightly below market value, within months of my brother's firm completing branding work for the seller. It wasn't proof of anything on its own. It was a pattern. I sent it to Diane with a note. "Look at these." Diane found the rest. A promissory note, 13 months old, recording a loan of $180,000 from my brother to my father. The collateral listed for the loan was the Tybee Island property, the property that Nana Ruth had left to me. My father had borrowed money from my brother using my land as collateral. My brother had accepted the arrangement knowing the land belonged to me. I sat with that for exactly 1 day. Then I called my brother. He picked up on the 3rd ring. I heard Vanessa's voice behind him, and then silence, and then the sound of a door closing. He had walked into another room. I know about the promissory note, I said. The silence that followed was different from all the others. It was the silence of someone calculating very quickly. That was a private arrangement to help Dad through a difficult time, he said, careful and measured. It wasn't intended to be permanent. You used my property as collateral for a loan that helped cover the money Dad had already spent from my inheritance. That's not a private arrangement, Brandon. That's fraud. Don't say that word. What word fits better? He exhaled slowly. Drop the legal action. We'll sit down and talk like adults. We can work something out internally. But if this goes to court, it becomes public. It becomes a whole thing. Is that what you want? To put the family through that? I thought about the crackers, the parking garage, the paper bag. I thought about Nana Ruth's handwriting on the envelope. Make sure you get what belongs to you. Yes, I said, that's what I want. I hung up and blocked his number for a week because I needed the quiet. The mediation was scheduled for a Saturday morning in late January in a conference room on the 14th floor of Diane's office building downtown. I arrived early wearing my good blazer and a black turtleneck. I had gotten my hair trimmed the night before. I had slept 6 hours, which was more than I usually managed. My father came with his personal attorney, a man named Walt who wore a signet ring and the confidence of someone who had never been told he was the simple one. My brother came with a separate attorney and, uninvited, Vanessa, who installed herself in the corner chair with a legal pad and an expression of focused attention. My mother arrived last, in her good coat, her face arranged into careful blankness. Diane set a packet of documents in front of each party and let them read. I watched my father work through the pages, the withdrawal records, the estate accounting, the promissory note, the property valuation from a current licensed appraiser, and a written offer from the developer that had been sitting in the probate file for 14 months, updated to reflect current market conditions. Revised offer, $2,900,000. My father set the packet down when he reached the developer's letter. He looked at me. The expression on his face was the particular look of a man who believed, for 2 years, that he was safely in possession of information that belonged to someone else, and has just understood that he never was. We can resolve this today, Diane said. Or we can resolve it in Chatham County Superior Court with a full forensic accounting and a referral to the district attorney's office. The choice is yours. My mother looked at Diane rather than at me, as she had always done when addressing something I had made. What does she want? I glanced at Diane. She nodded. Full and immediate release of the remaining estate funds, Diane said. Clear title to the Tybee Island property with all encumbrances removed, including the promissory note. A signed acknowledgement from all parties that no claims exist against the property or the estate. And restitution of the $174,000 in misappropriated funds, which, given the circumstances, my client is willing to accept as a lien against the family home rather than requiring immediate cash payment. In exchange for full and documented compliance within 14 days, she will forego a criminal referral. My father's face had the color of January sky. He turned and looked at me directly for the first time since he arrived. "We were going to tell you," he said. His voice had something in it I had not heard before, something that sounded like the edges of actual recognition. "We just needed more time. You had 22 months, Dad." My mother's composure shifted at the outer edges. "You would put a lien on our home," she said. "Our home. You used my inheritance to pay for your kitchen," I said. I kept my voice level and quiet, the way I spoke to patients in the emergency room who were frightened. "I am offering you a way to stay in it. I'm not taking the house. I'm taking back what's mine." They asked for 20 minutes to confer. Diane and I went to the break room. She made coffee and handed me a cup. "You're doing well," she said. "I don't feel like it." "You rarely do when you actually are," she said. We went back in after 18 minutes. My father signed. My brother signed, voiding the promissory note. My mother signed the acknowledgement. The lien was filed that afternoon. Vanessa did not sign anything because she had never been a party to begin with. I drove home, changed into sweats, heated up soup from a can I had bought that morning because I had gone to the grocery store for the first time in 2 weeks. I sat at my kitchen table and ate it slowly and let the silence of the apartment sit with me, and it felt different than it had before, not hollow, not empty, just quiet. 3 months later, I accepted the developer's offer on the Tybee property. After taxes and closing costs and Diane's fees, I cleared $2.4 million. The estate fund's $633,000 were released to my account the same week. I paid off my student loans on a Tuesday afternoon, sitting at my kitchen table with my laptop open, and the relief of it was less like joy and more like setting down something heavy you had been carrying so long it had become part of your posture. I left nursing the right way, 2 months' notice, careful documentation, real goodbyes. Not because I was angry at the work, because I was exhausted, and I finally had the choice not to be. I enrolled in a graduate program in public health. I wanted to understand the systems, not just move through them. I bought a small craftsman bungalow in a neighborhood I had loved for years from a distance. 2 bedrooms, a front porch with a wood swing, a backyard with a fig tree that was already established and didn't need anything from me. I drink my coffee outside in the mornings. I cannot explain fully why that matters as much as it does, but it does. My father and I speak occasionally, short conversations, careful ones, the kind two people have when they are navigating an arrangement rather than a relationship. He has not apologized directly. He has said, in different ways on different days, that he made mistakes. I receive that and don't ask for more. It is what he has to offer, and I am done making myself small to receive less than I need. My mother sends texts on my birthday and at Christmas. I respond. My brother and I have not spoken since the mediation. Vanessa deleted the Instagram reel a few days after the settlement was signed. No acknowledgement, no explanation. I heard through a mutual friend that her follower count has fallen considerably. I don't follow her to verify this. I am not interested in her losses. I am only interested in my own mournings. What I think about, when I let myself think about all of it, is Nana Ruth sitting alone with her Bible and her declining handwriting and her knowledge of exactly what her son was capable of. She couldn't fix it from where she was. She couldn't reach through my family and hand me what was mine directly. So she hid a letter in the last place they would think to look, the old Bible they considered worthless, and she addressed it in her careful, slanted hand to the one person she trusted to open it. She took care of things the only way available to her. I have her Bible on my bookshelf now. I keep it face out so I can see her name on the spine, the gold foil mostly gone. To anyone watching this who has spent years being the one who gets the paper bag while everyone else gets the diamond, you were never invisible. You were just surrounded by people who needed you not to see clearly. They were not protecting you. They were protecting themselves from you. There is a difference, and when you finally feel it, everything changes. If Nana Ruth's story meant something to you today, leave a comment. Tell me your paper bag moment, or tell me you're still in the middle of it. I read every one. And if you're in the January part right now, cold and alone and eating crackers and wondering whether any of it is worth holding on for, I promise you, it is. Stay with me, subscribe, and keep watching. Every story here ends with the person who was underestimated walking out into something better.